Good morning and good morning and welcome to Northern Lights Center for Spiritual Living. We're a community of people dedicated to using spiritual and practical principles to create lives we want to live. And Northern Lights Center for Spiritual Living offers practical and spiritual tools to make positive changes in our lives. Our promise here is to reveal, inspire, uplift, celebrate, and magnify your greatness. We acknowledge that much of what we know in this country today, including its culture, economic growth, and development throughout history and across time, has been made possible by the labor of enslaved Africans and their ascendants who suffered the horrors of transatlantic trafficking, chattel slavery, and Jim Crow. We also name the Asian and Chicano people who toiled with little recognition. We are indebted to their labors and sacrifices, and we acknowledge the tremors of that violence throughout the generations and resulting impacts that can still be felt and witnessed today. We acknowledge our presence here on the traditional and unceded lands and waters of the first people of Seattle, the Duwamish and coastal Salish peoples. These people are still here, and we join with them in how they continue to honor and bring to light their ancient heritage. We seek to resist the erasure of Indigenous histories as we work towards honoring and inviting the truth. Please join me for our opening song, In This Very Room, by Ron and Carol Harris. In this very room, there's quite enough love for all the world. And in this very room, there's quite enough joy for all the world. And there's quite enough peace and quite enough power to walk through our every fear. Holy Spirit, sweet Spirit, is in this very room. In this very room. And we are going to prepare for our meditation. So the invitation is to find a posture, a position that's as comfortable as possible. And just allow yourself to become aware of your breath. Paying attention to the rise and fall of the chest. The feel of the air on your skin. The support of the floor under your feet. And perhaps in the background, you'll notice the sound of rainfall. Imagine all the ways that you can receive nourishment, that you can be refreshed. Just gauge yourself. If rain were falling, are you becoming more verdant or have you been thirsting? If you think about your current situation, how would you characterize yourself? Have you felt refreshed? Have you felt tired? Have you felt excited to get up in the morning? Or have you looked forward to sleeping in? Just be present what your current feelings are. And allow yourself to honor that. In the midst of the sound of the rain, imagine what happens when somewhere in the sky the clouds part and the sun comes through. You may search around and start to notice a rainbow. Is there a particular color that catches your attention? What draws your eye? What speaks to you? Will it be the purples, the blues, the greens, the yellows, the oranges, the reds? As you see the rainbow, what strikes you? Is it the combination of colors, or is there one in particular? If you think of your own life like a rainbow, where are you most vibrant? Consider the stories you've told about yourself, the stories you've told about your life. What words have you used? What titles have you claimed? Healer, helper, creator, inventor, warrior, lover, giver, receiver. Again, thinking about the story of your life. If there were a poster made of you, what images would you place in that poster? Before the talk, Sherry was talking about her love of plants and how the plants can symbolize her own life. What symbols would depict your life? Just let that image take shape. And to draw from Stephanie, consider the life work of finding ways to show that symbol, those symbols, those colors. Maybe you'll be more intentional about selection of a article of clothing. Perhaps a piece of jewelry. Some icon to illustrate. And if nothing's come to mind this morning in this process, just be open to receiving an image and to going with that image. And allow yourself once again to be aware of your breath, to be aware of the ground supporting your feet, and allow yourself to come back to the space where you are. And I say, Amen, Ashe, and so it is. So you may have guessed from the nature of the talk or the nature of the meditation, this month's theme is in living color. So today's reading comes from the Science of Mind, and it literally comes from June 1st. So, but we're going to go to our declaration first. We are an expanding and loving community working in a field of infinite potential. We are an expanding and loving community working in a field of infinite potential. And finally, we are an expanding and loving community working in a field of infinite potential. And so it is.
Child a box of crayons.
Yep.
I love that part.
So from Nietzsche, Prekash, we have the phrase, give a kid a box of crayons and watch them color the world happy. Tell them where to fill which color and watch them dislike everything colorful. Ernest Holmes in The Science of Mind wrote, and so we suffer, not because suffering is imposed on us, but because we are ignorant of our true nature. I think Ernest Holmes would agree. There are times when people impose suffering, abuse, and trauma on others. Simply avoiding being a cause of anyone's suffering is not enough. We need to help. We need to help them heal it. For years, as a result of the many traumas I experienced from as far back as I can remember, I hated myself and nearly everything about my life. I suffered daily from the intrusive thoughts of suicidal ideations until one day it dawned on me that I had become the tormentor and bringer of suffering. I had adopted the very belief that if I did it to myself first, others couldn't do it to me. That shifted one day when I was hired to interpret an event where a vocalist would be singing True Colors while on stage interpreting the line, "So don't be afraid to let them show your true colors. True colors are beautiful like a rainbow." I had a life-changing breakthrough. It started when I saw various people, including the deaf audience members, brought to tears. I felt myself holding back tears. Why was I about to cry? It dawned on me at that moment I was using the tools of my abusers and bullies against myself. I had been conditioned to stifle my own true colors, to refuse them the freedom to be seen by anyone, especially myself. As individualizations of spirit, we are beautiful, colorful beings meant to thrive. Today, we recognize this truth as we inspire others to do as well. And the series this month by Ray Raymond Anderson is I acknowledge and celebrate my true colors. As I share them with the world, they heal and inspire others to do the same until the collective consciousness is colorfully whole. And so it is.
Good morning. And Reverend Dr. Raymond, I consider him one of my mentors. I've never actually met him, but I follow him. So it's interesting. Okay. I'm going to pause for the song. Well, here we are already, June 1st. I don't know where it came from so fast, but it's here, almost half the year. So, and as Reverend Vaughn said, it's living in living color. Is that theme for the month, I guess, something like that. The title of my talk today is Living in a World of Color. Today is the start of Pride Month. Some will celebrate it, some will not. But we don't live in a world of black and white, nor do we live in a world of black and white. We live in a world of color. I mean, color surrounds us. I mean, if you look, just take a minute and just look around wherever you're at, because I don't believe you're without color, all right, in your room, in this room. I mean, definitely not without color in this room. Outside, anywhere you look, there's color. And color represents so many things. And I really pity the people that say they don't see color when they're referring to people. Because that, in a sense, is denying that person actually existing. Because you see another person of a different color, that's part of their heritage, part of their being, part of their ethnicity of who they are. So if you're not seeing it, you're not recognizing them. That's just my opinion. Ernest Holmes reminds us to stay open at the top. Those who don't see color are missing out on the vibrant hues of the world. So if you're not open, you're missing out on so much. They hold themselves back from fully experiencing the beautiful lives being expressed, learning and loving every color that exists. Colors bring us joy. I know certain colors really, each of us have our favorite colors. And some have many favorite colors. I can't settle on one. I mean, and as the time goes on, my favorite color seems to change. But that's okay. There's nothing wrong with that. Colors release the dopamine, the hormone associated with the feelings of well-being. So certain colors, release that and can change our moods and our attitude at the moment. Colors can create a calming effect. That's why a lot of prisons have gone to painting the interior walls pink, because that's very calming. And of course, you would probably rather have the inmates a little calmer than having maybe a vibrant red. That might not be too helpful. Colors shape cultures and communities. They are a vital aspect of our food, our festivals, movies, lives. I mean, everything around us is color, even if it's white. That's a color. Colors invigorate us, bringing that joy and sense of uniqueness. I mean, you see some people all decked out in very vibrant, bright, I don't know how else to describe it, but some might even say gaudy colors. And they might stop you and say, well, I would never dress like that. Well, fine. You don't have to. I mean, nobody is making you dress like, but that person's expressing themselves, and it's like, I remember when it was a sin to wear plaids and stripes. You couldn't, and nowadays, you know what? They do it. And they wear pajama bottoms for pants, which I know Reverend Vaughn, he sees that all the time at school, and in the school he works at. I see him on the street. I go, I couldn't do that. I can't even wear sweatpants to the store. But that's my take on it. And I've had to go along through the years and say, okay. Like this friend of mine says, they're not me. They're not me. They're themselves expressing. And that's what color does. It allows a lot of us to be able to express ourselves in a way, well, in a different way. Some people express themselves verbally, or singing or art or whatever, and others express themselves in color. Color surrounds us, so why does it hinder us from living our most extraordinary lives? And in that, I'm speaking the color of the skin. We use that as such a barrier, such a wall, where it doesn't allow us to be able to communicate with one another. It's a division. We use it as a division. And if we're on this little blue marble, for however many years we're here, can't we just see the color, see the person, see the communities as they are, not as a murderers, rapists, and whatever that which somebody else calls them. We are human. I personally think it would be a little boring, if it was all one color, not necessarily white. If it was all black, all green, all whatever. But especially like in our country, which we were originally called the melting pot. And now they want to use a big sieve and get rid of a lot of the colors, especially the darker hues. And that's not what this country was founded for. This country was founded for freedom. Although it was founded by old white men, or maybe not that old, but so that put that into the mix. They never probably considered a lot of other things, or they might have put that in the Constitution. So we allow this thing of color, the hue of our skin, to divide us. So that if we can divide us, they can conquer. The others can conquer. And I don't know if anybody watched the series a few years ago, Pose. And it was, they would have these hellacious drag shows. I mean, they were pretty awesome. And they always would start out, the drag show is, and the category is, you know. And today the category is unity. In celebration of the LGBTQIA+ Pride Month, we embrace the spiritual truth that we are all divine expressions. I realize, and I know I'm guilty of it, to actually accept and see others, some others, as expressions of the divine because of their actions, because of their words. But I just have to stop. I have to stop myself and maybe give myself a slap or two when I start criticizing. And I do it. I mean, it's. But in a sense, I'm standing. If I reverse that and just stand instead of criticizing and turn it around and stand up for what I believe, what I believe is right, stand up for my truth, and allowing others to stand up for their truth. Maybe we could work it out. Pride Month in our country and many others, even though our current administration is, refusing to recognize it, has been going on for a lot of years. I remember my first, and I didn't remember it till I was going through stuff yesterday. My very first, it wasn't a Pride parade because it wasn't a parade back then, but it was actually a march, and it was a Pride march, and it was in San Francisco in 1973. So that's a couple of years ago. And I can barely remember it, but the idea, that all these people were out there marching down the street, and how some dress and some don't dress at all or very little. That was very new to me. I was 22 at the time, just gotten out the Navy, and it was an experience. And now I've been in, I don't know how many parades here in Seattle, and I do it as a sense of freedom, because I am allowed to do that. That's what I fought for. That's what others have fought for. And we celebrated Memorial Day last weekend, and that's what some people have died for. So Ernest Holmes, in A Science of Mind, said, "It should be considered right to live and to enjoy living, to be well, happy, to express freedom is to be in accord with the divine law and wisdom." So it is a right to live and to live well. not to live in a closet. Or somebody said they came out of the pantry. So, you hear all these little quips nowadays, but to hide ourselves. As in the Bible, it says, don't hide your light under a bushel basket, or under a basket. And being gay, lesbian, transgender, bisexual, whatever, that is part of us. That is not the sum of us. That is part of us. And so having that freedom to be well, to be happy, and to express it, I mean, there's certain things you can go too far, and that's in any area of life. I mean, you can go too far, and I used to go too far in drinking. But fortunately, it's been a lot of years I haven't had to do that. And at least every day I know where my car is. I know where I'm waking up at. That's a freedom. Oh, believe me, that's a freedom. The rainbow flag was inspired by the song. It's part of the inspiration was by the song "Over the Rainbow," with each color expressing the qualities of sex, life, healing, sunlight, nature, magic, art, serenity, and spirit. But in 2018, the flag had evolved to include more colors to represent people of the global majority and their contributions to the movement. People who had died of AIDS, transgender people, gender non-binary people, intersex people, and those who don't identify with any gender. And I was reading something in there that had the 2S. And I go, what is that? And then I looked up, it's two-spirited. The Native Americans, a person that is gay is considered two-spirited. And they are not condemned. Actually, they're raised up because they carry both spirits within them. Well, Gilbert Baker, who designed the flag, acknowledged Over the Rainbow and Judy Garland as influences. He also cited the Rolling Stones song, She's a Rainbow, as a possible influence. He was seeking a symbol that could unite the LGBTQ plus community and represent hope and positivity. Baker admired the rainbow's natural beauty and universality as a symbol of hope and peace. He saw it as a powerful image that people from all walks of life could understand. The song Over the Rainbow is indeed a cultural touchstone for the LGBT community. And it certainly played a role in the flag's design. The vibrant symbolism of colors and their deeper meanings leads us to the timeless connection. Excuse me. That was God calling. Where was I here? Oh, the vibrant symbolism of the colors and their deeper meaning leads us to the timeless connection between the Wizard of Oz and the LGBTQI plus community. The Wizard of Oz is an iconic film in which the community has found inspiration and connection. One of the things they used to do many years ago, I did not do this because I didn't know about this, but if you were somewhere, you would ask, say that you were a friend of Dorothy. And that was a phrase in the queer community used to identify one another to ensure safety in environments, because you did not know, where they weren't free to be themselves. I remember my first partner who was like 17 years older than I am. And in the 60s, the gay bars here in Seattle were very interesting. I imagine anywhere else too. And he used to describe different things to me. And it's like, oh, like so many things have evolved. And it's not just the gay bars. I mean, that's when I met my first partner. The place you usually met people or other gay people were bars. I mean, that was the majority, especially in San Francisco. And as time goes on, I ended up meeting my second partner through an ad in a paper. And Reverend Vaughn and I met by an ad online, which, so things have evolved, and you do worry about safety. And that's the one thing anybody has to be worried about. I mean, especially with online dating or any of this other kind of dating, to make sure that you're safe. Jeffrey brought in some safety pins that have been used as a statement to mean that I'm a safe place. And that's what we need to create, and we try to create here in this community, a safe space, a safe and sacred space for people to be who they are. Yesterday there was well, actually today there's still something going on here in Berrien. There was the Great Gay Street Pride Festival on this street down the road. We didn't make it this year, but we were there last year, and we had a booth set up, and it was very interesting, to the people that came by and the discussions you had. And many years ago, that would not have taken place, not out in the open anyway. And so colors have a way of bringing us up, lifting us up. If we lived in I want to say black and white and gray world, I mean, I do love black. I do love the color black. I wear a lot of black, but I also wear a lot of other colors. But if I was constrained just to black and white and like, dingy gray or whatever, what would it do for my attitude, my inspirations and stuff? Color does that. Color gives us inspiration. Well, maybe not give us, but it can inspire inspiration, just like music. And so as we celebrate in living color this month, this is a perfect opportunity to connect the relationship of colors, LGBT, and pride. Somebody says, well, why do you need a pride month? Blah, 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 blah. Why not? I was researching and found a lot of different reasons, and I'm not going into it now because it goes on forever. But there are so many reasons why. It's the freedom actually to express yourself, which we should be allowed to express ourselves every day of the year. And if we're not, in a lot of ways, it's our own damn fault, because we don't take the freedom that we have. There are countries where you can be killed for doing that. So I don't suggest that. However, there are other ways you can express your true nature, your true colors, allowing to stand out and be free. Most of us reside in cultures where the LGBTQ people's voices have been erased and continue to be silenced. And that is not only our voices, but it's right now it's the voice of people of color. Their histories are being erased from certain books, certain areas of government. And I can't say how wrong that is. They are part of this country, part of the United States community. They gave, like certain people that, like Jackie Robinson, what did he do? I mean, he had a lot of courage, a lot of guts. Yet wanted to remove him from the records. Living in color is a lot of times supported by learning more about people who have paved the way in any way of life, not just the LGBT community, but in all ways of life. Pride celebrations occur all over the world. A lot of them in June, but other months, it doesn't make any difference what month it is. Ernest Holmes encouraged individuals to take pride in who they are and to live authentically. That's one word that has had a lot of meaning for me, because if I can't be authentic in who I am, then you're just lying to yourself and to the world. He encouraged self-acceptance and self-love. And self-love, you know, we always say you have to love yourself before you can, you know, love someone else. It emphasizes that being proud of oneself is a step toward realizing one's potential and purpose. So what are we here for? Are you here to hide yourself, your light under a bushel basket? Are you here to hide in a closet? Some places to live, they had to hide. But in overall, we're not on this earth to hide. We're on this earth to shine bright, like a rainbow. Because we are a rainbow. You just look around. I mean, God, there's so many different colors and hues, and we are a rainbow. Holmes believed in living according to one's true self, free from the constraints of societal, that's a tough word to say, societal expectations and limiting beliefs. And that last two words, limiting beliefs, you know, we carry those with us too. Well, unless you've reached that upper level where you have no limiting beliefs anymore. I haven't quite got there, but believing in yourself, who you are, what you are. It's that freedom from societal expectations. I used to say that society sucks. That was a lot of years ago. I just remembered I used to say that. Well, actually, it does sometimes. It still does. Because it, you know, if we live by everything that society says, we're not being authentic with ourselves. Some may be, but I doubt if all of us are. Like, I want to wear white after Labor Day, you know? And I do sometimes. But sometimes I get caught up, oh, no, I can't do that because it's, you know, after Labor Day. You know, that's a stupid little thing. But there are other things in our lives that we hold because that's the norm. That's society's norm. And you better not go against it. You're going to be stoned, as they would say. And I'm not saying in a good way either. Ostracized, whatever. And it's you're giving up your freedom. You're giving up your rights. So stand up for your rights. Stand up for your freedom. So this month is Pride Month. And Pride is all about celebrating our spiritual magnificence. Because we are spiritual beings, you know? Consider ways your community can actively participate. Explore ways to support individuals in your community who identify in the LGBTQ plus community. They say maybe perhaps march in a parade, which we are going to do the last Sunday this month because we've done that for years. So living in a world of color, to me, means opening up at the top, being open at the top, opening your mind, your eyes, and your heart to all the colors around you. Because they're not going away. And they make life so much more aesthetic. Is aesthetic a good word? I think it's a good word. More pleasing. As I look around, especially this time of the year, everything blooming. All the flowers, the trees, the bees. The people, people are outside, people are walking their dogs, people are being out there, being seen. So allow yourself to be seen. And let your true color shine. Affirmation. We'll go through this, read it through 3 times. I fully embrace the breadth of my experiences, those of all humanity. I fully embrace the breadth of my experiences and those of all humanity. I fully embrace the breadth of my experiences and of my humanity. And so it is. Now, this.